Hey, Georgia high school football referees. Once again, it's Greg Norton here in Blue Ridge, Georgia. Actually, I'm in Morgan today. I'm at the church, and James has asked me to talk a little bit about six-man mechanics. Since we talked pretty exclusively about seven-man mechanics in the training that we did for the playoffs, and so I'm going to talk a little bit about six-man mechanics. And so I hope you're all doing well. Looking forward to the season and a great opportunity to get started here really quick. And so let's just take a look at a little bit of a PowerPoint here, talk about a few things, and kind of get us started here. Hopefully, this will only take about 20 minutes, and we'll be done. So anyway, a lot of you know how to reach out to me, but there's my contact information if you need it. Everything you need to know about mechanics, six-person or seven-person mechanics, is in this manual right here. As I said, in the other breakout that I did, if you're not connected to this, if you don't know how to get to the referee digital portal, this is you need to figure it out. You need to get this downloaded. You need to get there because that's where all the answers are. And we're going to be going there just in a minute, just to show you exactly what you need to know from as it relates to that. When we talk about having crew success, the attributes needed, it begins with preparation. And so knowing the manual, and as referees, knowing what all the other positions need to do, that certainly helps you make sure your crew is prepared. Understanding that, understanding the mobile box. If we can work the mobile box, we understand what that looks like. We look at our huddle, it'll make a huge difference. Also realizing the distance that we need, how far, we close down our angles when we're close on plays. When we're wider and we're focused on our keys, it helps improve our angles. It improves our field of vision, and it points us to the keys in which we are. And so all in how we do our angles makes a huge difference. And so these are six things that are attributes of crew success. These are in the manual as well, and I think it's just important that we do that. Obviously, as referees, a lot of it begins with preparation. And, we got to have a good pregame with our crew. We got to make sure that we recognize who our strong links are. We also have to recognize who our weak links are. And a lot of times when we talk through these things in pregame, and it helps us to be able to identify, what our potential weak links are and figure out who our strong people are, especially if we don't work with the same people all the time. It helps us to be able to do that. So it's important. When we come out of the dressing room, we walk out onto the field, we walk in together, we go to the 50-yard line on the home side, we meet there, and then we break, and then everybody goes and does their thing, before kickoff. We need to be on the field 45 minutes before. And, hopefully you've already engaged with your head coach. I always email my coaches before our games, 2 or 3, or I try to get it out on Monday, at latest on Tuesday. It might be a little different this year just because of some of the unknowns with COVID. But I always try to get it out there, and I spell out to them some of the expectations that I have, and I tell them when I'll be out on the field and that, I'll be looking for them and we can have our little pregame meeting. I try to keep this meeting as short as possible. But I used to say there were 5 things that we needed to ask a coach. Now there are 7 things that we need to ask a coach. And this meeting needs to be as quick as possible. It doesn't need to last a long time, especially if it's somebody that it doesn't look good, whether we like it or not. Coaches and people, they draw perceptions, and we need to be careful of the perception that we give, especially in this pregame meeting. Number 1, is your team properly and legally equipped? This is a new question. Have all your players been screened as defined by the infectious disease plan and are not positive for COVID-19 to the best of your knowledge? We have to ask that question. We know what the answers. All these questions are going to be what they need to be. Is your team going to practice good sportsmanship? Are you going to be the coach responsible for calling out timeouts? This is the new one that we have to ask this year. Are you going to be the designated person to make decisions on penalties? Do you know now if you win the coin toss what your choice would be? And do you have anything unusual planned for the game tonight that my crew may need to be made aware of? We know they're probably going to say, nope, we're going to do things like we've always done. And then, who knows what they'll do. But these are the questions that as referees we need to ask. After we've done that, I always like to make sure that my crew is observing the teams and seeing what's going on, letting me know whether the quarterback's right-handed, kicker, right. I don't ask the coaches any of those questions. I expect my crew to get those answers for me, make me aware of that. They're checking equipment, and we're making sure everybody's good to go. And then, bam, at the 5-minute mark, myself and my umpire, we're going to be on the goal line. It doesn't matter. You can be on the same goal line, opposite goal lines. It doesn't matter. But at the 5-minute mark, we're going to radio each other, raise our hands, and then we're going to walk to the 50-yard line. Okay. And then at the 4-minute mark, the crew's going to bring our captains. And then at the 3-minute mark, myself and one captain this year and the umpire and his one captain, we're going to walk to the middle of the field. All right. Captain's always going to be on my left. Doesn't matter where the scoreboard is. The captain's going to always be on my left. Going to get to the middle field. Going to do my corn toss procedures just like I would if it was 7-man, and we're good to go. Whether you bring your crew to the middle, whether they stay on the sideline during COVID, that's strictly up to you. But as a referee and umpire, I'm going to stay at the 50-yard line with my back to the goal in which they're going to the goal line in which they're going to be kicking. Whenever I have a team, then I'm going to break and I'm going to run down the middle of the field to the goal line, and I'm going to be ready to go. And from that point, I'm going to stay on the goal line, and I'm going to check off with the clock operator. He's going to let me know via radio. I'm going to check off. I'm going to count the receiving team with the head line judge and the line judge. We're going to verify that we've got 11. Once my umpire, or in this case in 6-person mechanics, once my umpire's in his spot, I'm going to hit my whistle, and I'm ready to go. All right. And then just initially on the kickoff, as referees, what we're primarily looking for is we're wanting to make sure that before that ball is kicked, that we have at least 4 on each side of the kicker. That's primarily what we're looking for, pre-kick. All right. Once that ball's kicked, obviously we primarily will make a decision on whether the ball breaks the plane of the goal line. We could get some help from our headline judge or our line judge if it is in the corner there at the pie line. We could get some help with that. How the two of you communicate that, but primarily it is your call. It is our call as referees. So that is what we're looking for. We're going to give a good whine signal once they've caught the ball. If it's going to be a touchback, we're going to give this signal. We're going to step out and we're going to come out and we're going to do our best to make sure that teams don't still go after the person that gave the fair catch, or if the ball goes, whatever. We're going to be watching the players. We don't need to watch the ball. Once the ball breaks the plane to the end zone, we're looking. And then from there, we're getting ready to go to our spot. If we have a touchback, if the runner catches the ball, basically you've got the runner. You're going to be watching the run. You're not going to watch the runner. You're going to watch the activity around the runner. The runner is not going to hurt you. Okay, so you're looking for those blocks that are in the middle of the field primarily. Obviously, your wings, they're going to be moving up with you. They're going to stay with the carry just like they would on any running play. But then we're going to follow the play. We're going to trail the play, and we're going to be looking for blocks around the area, block below the waist, blocks in the back, clipping. We could be looking for face mask. We could be looking for holding. There's a variety of things. We're probably not going to see that targeting unless our field of vision is probably too far away to really be able to see that. But with our coverage changes this year as it relates to kickoffs, we should be able to have our deeps who can help us with that, and also the umpires. They're going to be able to see those plays. They're moving in, and basically we're just working the mobile box. Everybody's on the sideline. We're coming up the middle of the field to the side, wherever the ball carrier is, and we're just following. We do not have the spot, but once the runner is down, I always like to echo, hey, he's down, we're through, and then we're ready to go. All right, and then from that point, it's just getting the new ball. Usually on that first series, I give my umpire a little extra time just to make sure that he's going to find out from that center how he wants the laces, if it matters. And then we're going to get in our pre-snap position. And then obviously, we're going to have a 25-second play clock on that. I'm going to wave my umpire off. You've heard me talk about this before. I wave my umpire off. It doesn't matter if they're in a huddle or not. The manual says, that it really is more important to use that method, when we do have shotgun or pistol. They're not running a huddle. They're not in a huddle. But I do it all the time because I like that connection for that umpire. I just like for that marriage to be good and solid. And that way we know who's got the ball. We know when we're ready. There's no second guessing. And so that's primarily what we need to do. And once we've done that, we've chopped it in, we've hit it ready to go. We're starting on the snap. And then at that point, we're observing, we're going to count the offense, and we're going to count the offense on every play. So we're going to count the offense. I usually do not do my count until after I have wave the umpire off. I generally cannot count them if they're in the huddle. I wait until they break, and then I'm giving a good signal, a closed fist. I'm giving that signal out to say, hey, I've got 11. I'm communicating with my umpire, and then I'm good to go. I'm watching. I'm looking through the snapper, or I'm looking through the quarterback. I'm kind of in my peripheral. I'm watching the snapper to make sure we don't have anything crazy with that. But our initial key is the offside tackle. If the tackle goes down and he goes forward, 90% of the time we're going to have a running play. If he steps back, then 90% of the time we're going to have a passing play. And that is a key. That is what our initial key is. And so that's what we're looking for. That's what we recognize. Then once the ball snapped, guess what? We've got the money guy. We got the quarterback. We got to stay on the quarterback. We got to be on him and ready to go. And so we're going to watch that quarterback. We're going to stay with him. We're going to move if we need to. We're going to retreat back some, and we're going to be ready to go. Now, again, we want to be at least 10 to 12 yards off the line of scrimmage, and we want to be at a wide angle. I always stand at a 45 from the line of scrimmage. I don't stand at a 90. I stand at a 45 so that I can get this. And I'm going to show you some pictures in just a moment. I'm talking a little bit here just through this, but I'm going to give myself a good angle, and then I'm going to just move and migrate with it. If he is going to the opposite sideline, if we started on the right hash, and I'm probably going to be around the numbers offset, I'm at a good angle. I'm looking. If he is running a passing play or a running play and it's going to the opposite hash, the left side hash going to that sideline, if I started on the, let's just say if I started on the 8-yard line, if we started on the 20 and I was on the 8-yard line, then I'm going to run in a straight line parallel with the line of scrimmage. I'm going to run parallel down that line, and I'm going to be watching my runner, but I'm also going to be looking for those blocks that are behind the play. I'm looking for that. And then if he goes all the way to the sideline, whether it's the runner or whether it's the quarterback, as a referee, if mobility will allow it, we need to be following and trailing that play all the way there, especially in 6-man. But if he is tackled around the numbers in that particular area, I'm still going to be running that way. I'm going to ask my umpire to go and retrieve the ball if needed to go out to the numbers. But if it's all the way to the sideline, then I'm going to go and I'm going to help retrieve that ball and bring it in if my deeps aren't there to help me. But that is your typical scrimmage play. All right. Obviously, if you have a passing play, the quarterback is backing up and he's by himself, there's no reason to watch the quarterback. They're going to come to him. We're watching the lineman. We're watching to see what they're going on. If a runner is running by himself, we are watching the players around it. We have the runner until he crosses the line of scrimmage. We have the quarterback at all times, okay? Now, if he becomes a runner and he gets beyond the line of scrimmage, he then more becomes a runner than he is a quarterback. But until he crosses the line of scrimmage, we're going to be watching him. And so it's just important that you recognize your keys and that you stay with them. Really, from a 6-man perspective and a 7-man perspective, from a mechanics on a scrimmage play, it really does not change. It really does not change. But it is important that we recognize that. All right. Now, for us, even when we get inside the 7-yard line, nothing changes for us. We're going to do the same mechanic. All right. If we're backed up and we're putting the ball down at the 10-yard line and the goal line is right behind us, that might be the only time that I will maintain the goal line. But once they get inside the 10-yard line, I'm probably going to be almost on the end line. I know that's a long way. Again, depending on what type of offense they're running. If they're a wing tee and they're huddling, I might adjust on that a little bit. But again, the line that is most compromised for us is the end line at that point. And so we have to be aware of that. So we just need to recognize where is a good place for us to be. That is when when our goal line is to our back, and when we're going into and same thing would go for a punt, a scrimmage kick. You have to determine what line is the most compromised for you and where is it best. You don't want to be standing in the middle of the end zone in either situation. You either want to be on the goal line or on the end line, because those are the two lines that are most at risk that we need to be able to officiate. All right. On scrimmage kicks, obviously, again, we're going to count at the beginning of the play. I'm going to count, and then I'm going to signal, hey, I'm looking for my umpire. Hey, we've got snapper protection. And then I'm going to be, I believe the manual says 3 to 5 yards away from the kicker, offset just a little bit, back some. I generally am too wide on those plays and on those situations, so I'm working to try to improve on that. But the primary thing is we want to be able to referee through the kicker and watch those shield blocks, because we're primarily going to be the one that's going to see those shield blocks. We might get a little bit of help from our wings. Our umpire may be able to help us depending on what happens, but we've got to recognize that we're not going to be just looking at the kicker, because the kicker can do no wrong. All right. Where our problem is going to be is with those guys that are trying to get to him. And then we've just got to stay with it. And probably the most difficult decision for us to make is that if they're doing that little soccer style kick, or they're running the rugby kind of deal, at what point is he stop being a runner and he becomes a kicker? Those are the most difficult places for us to have to make judgment decisions. And so we have to be aware of that. If he starts to run, then now we've just got a runner, just like we would have a quarterback. We need to stay with it. Obviously, roughing the kicker, running into the kicker, roughing the kicker will generally call itself, all right? It's a pretty obvious play, all right? So I'm generally thinking running into. My mindset is I'm thinking running into rather than roughing, because I want roughing to be a flashing neon light sign. And so that's just my mentality, but sometimes those can be difficult decisions. After the ball is kicked, I'm following the kicker. I'm moving in. I'm telling those guys that are still going at each other to hold up, hold up, hold up. And then I'm basically following up the middle of the field. Then I'm not going too far, because we know that if it goes to the goal line, we're going to be one of those guys that's going to be trying to get back to get to the goal line. It would be the same way if we had an interception. We just got to kind of follow the play in the middle of the field, referee those, watch those change of direction blocks, and be ready to assist on that. If once the kick is over and he's caught it, then I'm generally going to run up the sideline in which the new ball is coming in, because I want my umpire to go straight to where the new spot's going to be, and then I want to be the person that's bringing that new ball in from the side to the umpire so that we can get it changed out and get it going quickly. All right. So in a nutshell, I've walked you through the mechanics for six-man mechanics on almost every situation, but we're going to look at the manual here, and I'm going to talk just a few things, just about a couple of different things. So crewmatics, a coin toss, 3 minutes. I talked a little bit about this earlier. One of the things that we're wanting to do this year is we just want to make sure we're consistent as a state. Is when we come to the middle of the field, rather than starring out, we want to run down the 50-yard line, and then run down the sideline. So we want to make sure we do that. The umpire is going to back up, and then the 3-minute warm-up period. All the officials just need to go to their normal spots. The wings and deeps would go there. We're going to know what's going on. And then the referee and the umpire, we're going to do the same thing that we do on the kickoff. At the 2-minute mark, we're going to be on the goal line. We're going to walk down to the 50-yard line. Then we get to the 50-yard line at the 1-minute mark. We're going to jog into the middle of the field. We're going to just confirm which way direction that we're going. And then, once we've got a team that's out there on the field, or 10 or 15 seconds before we think we're into that period, then I'm going to run down to the goal line, and we're going to be ready to go. All right. So there's just a couple things. I'm not going to talk about that because that's crew of 7. So let's take a look at let's take a look here just for a second at the manual. All right. Because I think that is the most important thing that we need to look at here. And I need to get to the right thing here. So bear with me. All right, here we go. So as I said, the referee digital portal, it's all here. It is all here. It's just like the old manual. It's so good. I highly recommend. I talked about crew concepts, general mechanics, ejection procedures. I talked about some of this stuff already, about the mobile box, the pregame field responsibilities, and me with coaches, the official's appearance. This is, if you're wanting some information about the 25 and the 40-second play clock, it's here. It's all there. So let's look at, let's see, which one was I at here? All right, so chapter 5, 6-man specifics. All right, so let's take a look at this. So I think I've already got it pulled up here, but anyway, we'll go again. So this is scrimmage play, and this is just exactly what I mentioned to you a few minutes ago. The referee is offset. Our initial key is the left side tackle. We're going to be watching, and we're going to be observing what takes place. The tackle is going to give us our key indicators as to what we need to do. The manual spells it out specifically. The referee has responsibility for the runner until he crosses the line of scrimmage, and has a responsibility of the passer until he decides, blah, blah, blah. I don't need to read all of this to you, but this manual will give you everything you need to know. Pre-snap routine, what is the status of the clock, down and distance, ready for play, blah, blah, blah. I can't tell you how important it is as a referee. And probably for some of you that are watching this, you've got your routine down pat. For that guy who's trying to strive to be a better referee, trying to figure out how to get there to the next level, you get this figured out. You figured out what your routine is. Hey, I expect my people, if we have a running play and we have a first down, or if it's close to the sideline, I expect my people to be telling me on the radio, hey, we're in bounds. Hey, we're out of bounds. Or if we have a first down, even though we know the play clock is going to continue to move, I've got to know whether or not I got to give the silent whine, hey, are we, were we out of bounds? Were we in bounds? We need to know those kinds of things. And so, I think that's important. One of the things that James mentioned several years back, say to yourself the number of the offside tackle and the backs in the backfield. That is so important. If you recognize who it is, then you're just going to know what's going on. Hustle, but don't hurry. Think is the play likely to be a pass or run? Know the situation. Think about those things. This manual is great. I highly recommend. I know a lot of you probably read it, but it is great reading. It is good. It will help you to be better. When the play is over, as referees, we just can't take a break. We got to still stay focused. We got to be thinking about, where we're going, what's going to happen next. I always say a good official is just trying to get through that play. But a great official is not just thinking about that play, but he has the next one in mind. He's thinking about what's coming next. And so we've just got to be ready, be aware of fumbles and reverse mechanics. Those are always important. We know that the beanbag has really no significance. It has no significance when you have a fumble behind the line of scrimmage. But I'm telling you, I throw my beanbag just to let the world know, hey, I've got the ball out. I've got the ball out. It has no significance for it, but it is good. So be sure you're deep enough, 14 or 15 yards off the line of scrimmage and wide. These are just, was it roughing the passer, be a good dead ball official, and then it goes into the umpire piece, all right? So I'm not going to go into that, but just to show you how easy it is to navigate back, I'm going to go back over here, and so let's see here if I can do the sections here, and I can get back. Let's see, display, search. Let's see. Let's go back over here then. I'll do this. This may be the easier way. Scrimmage plays originating outside the 10-yard line. All right, let's look at this just for a second. So, we know for us it really doesn't change, all right, but a referee among all the on-field officials has the fewest for the entire crew. Mechanically, he operates in the same fashion as he would any other ordinary scrimmage. However, he has primary responsibility for recognizing that the next snap will be inside or outside, the 10 or the 3-yard line. So we are going to make sure we communicate that. So that's very important. But everything else, is very similar. Let's see here. Let's go back to the next part of this. Punt plays. This will probably give us some good pictures here on punts. It doesn't give us a picture, but as I've already said, signal that we're given the kicking formation. I'm not going to read this to you. I'm just pointing out to you that if you have questions about what you should be doing and from a mechanical perspective, as a referee or any position, it's in this manual. It is in this manual, and you cannot go wrong by going to the manual. Miscellaneous situations. Let's take a look at this. And just see. Pre-game on-field duties, talking about 4-man, pre-game escort duties. We're not going to talk about that. Referees, obviously we're going to give a good signal when we have timeout. And then we're going to give, whop, 3 chops. Hey, we've got a timeout. And we're going to signal. And then we're going to just stay out there. We're going to record it. If there's a conversation you need to have with one of your crew members, you don't want to have on the radio, it might be a good time. But basically, we're just going to stay in the middle of the field. We're not going to do anything. The same as timeouts. Let's see here. Measurements. We're going to declare whether or not we need a measurement. All right. Sometimes our crew member is going to tell us that. When we do that, we're going to signal and we're going to say, my time out. And then we're going to bring them in. and we're going to look for it. We're not going to use a card, but we're just going to look at it. We're either going to have fourth down. If we have fourth down, then, or whatever down it may be, if we're short. Let me rephrase it. If we're short, we're going to pick it up. We're going to move it into where we need to be with a new ball, and then we're going to sit it down. We're going to get the chains off, and then we're going to be ready to go. We got a first down. We're going to pop it. We got our first down. We're moving on, and we're good to go. But as I said, this manual is going to help you with anything like that. Penalty administration. Penalty administration is no different than in 7-man than it is 6-man. I would just say that try to do it as quickly as possible. Try to do what you need to do. If we do need to have a conversation, if we do need to talk through it a little bit, we have to be our own little replay system. Then let's do it, and let's do it as quick as possible. But let's try to keep the game going. But let's do our best to make. We need to make sure we get it right. That is the most important thing. So that between halves, we don't want to be in a. I mean, we want to give teams plenty of time to get off the field. We don't want to be in a hurry with that. But let's make sure that we just do a good job with letting our clock operator know either by radio or by a wind of the clock once they've got there and we're ready to go and we're good to start. And the other thing is make sure somebody on your crew is timing it. I don't want to be responsible for that, but I don't want to be late getting back out too. And I'll tell you something else. It's not really our responsibility to make sure the teams are back out by zeros on the clock. But it's a good protocol to make sure that your guys are going to those locker rooms and saying, hey, you guys got 3 minutes to get out. Make sure they know. I mean, a lot of the teams have somebody that does that, but I think it's very important that we do that. So let's see if there's anything else that I want to talk about, and then we'll be done. This manual goes into 5-man mechanics, all these different things. So I think that that in a nutshell is just a great manual. The answers to your questions are in the manual. Use the resources that you have. Feel free to reach out to me or to James or, somebody. If you have a question, your assigning secretary, be sure and reach out to them if you have questions. But let's make sure that 6-man mechanics, just read the manual, understand it, and make sure what your position is. There's just a couple of things that I want to make sure, just to remind you of that you need to think of, and then we'll be done. All right. Number one is, don't ever start a play until you make sure everybody's in the right position. Don't get in too big a hurry. Don't rush your head linesman. I know we're moving a little quicker than we have in the past, but don't rush your head linesman. Make sure that you realize that when you're ready to go, and that you know what your keys are. Focus on that. Focus on that offside tackle, and just get that down pat. Get your routine down, and you're going to be fine. You're going to do well. So, hey guys, hope you have a great season. I hope I did this in 20 minutes. It might have took me a little longer, but I hope I did. Hope you guys have a great season, and God bless, and stay safe.